Beverly Hills.
I'm going to be talking a little bit in code today because if you watch my channel and you watch my live, yes.
Is the plane going down? Are we going to die? Why are you saying I'm sorry?
Hey guys, welcome back to my channel. I am the Housewife Historian, and we are going to be talking the Real Housewives of New Jersey today. So I hope everyone is ready. If you guys don't mind commenting where you're from, where you're listening, I love to know where you guys are always listening from. I'm going to go grab my coffee though really quickly. It's in the kitchen. I realize I don't have it. Give you guys a couple of minutes maybe to get into the room before we get into the tea. Hey, K Mama, thank you for joining today. You guys are going to get some really good tea. Chicago, Chi-Town. You're getting some exclusive tea. That's why I'm going live. Hi, Be Positive. I told you guys before that I'm going to be running all of my tea through my YouTube channel first. Just because I feel like I love my subscribers on YouTube and you guys are so faithful in listening that it's only fair you guys get the tea first. And then I take it to Instagram and TikTok and Twitter. So I always come to you guys first, and I do a live when I have exclusive tea in case you guys are new to the channel. So that's why it's important to put your notifications on for YouTube, because I'll go live every couple of days to chat and go live, and I'm going to give it to you guys as soon as I get it. I'm not going to pre-record it and edit it and wait 3 days, okay? You're going to get it 2 days. So before we get started, everything in this video is, of course, alleged. Now, I know that maybe we're a little tired. Are we tired of talking about New Jersey? I mean, it truly is the gift that keeps on giving. We've been hearing details about the reunion and about the finale. I would say since they filmed the reunion, I almost feel like we got so much leaked that I'm like, do we need to watch the reunion? I mean, we got a lot leaked. Oh, Emily, she says she is not tired. Be Positive said she hopes it's about Melissa and Joe. It is. It correlates to that. I've been doing a lot of digging because you guys know I love to be detective-ish. Sometimes I feel like I listen to my intuition, and if I read details or I see write-ups or blogs and I'm like, that doesn't sound right. I don't know if I feel like that sounds right. And there were a couple of things that I didn't know if they sounded right to me. And one of those things was about like Frankie Jr. and Frank and Louie and Joe B. And so I'm going to clear some of that up. Frank's always been, we've never heard Frank say, I mean, I've never heard him talk bad about Teresa or Louie in a confessional that I can remember. If you guys have, please comment. I've never heard him say anything, to my knowledge, bad or even make an innuendo. I feel like he has always been super respectful of Teresa in that manner, especially. But unfortunately, all of these rumors about Frankie Jr., we have to be very careful, guys, because sometimes there's what's called collateral damage in situations, and that can happen. And I feel like Frank and Dolores and their 2 kids are a really great example because, we don't want to be putting Frankie in a bad light, and we don't want to be like putting him in the mix of all of this stuff with like Louie and Teresa and the show. And because it could potentially affect his career and his job. I don't really know exactly what he does, but I do know, obviously, we saw how it affected Louis. We know that maybe he got fired or he had to step down from the company that he owned and take his name off because of everything that was transpiring last year with the hate campaign that was allegedly ran against him and the allegations of, DV and the exes, and it was bad. And so this year I feel like, we've uncovered so much about the Gorgas, but now this rumor about allegedly, of course, I'm going to be very careful about how I speak because of the fact that you guys know I've had some legal issues and some personal issues over the content that I have put out. And so, therefore, I'm going to be very careful in the way that I word things because I don't want my content to be taken down. And you know what? I ain't got time today for no legal problems, okay? I love to advocate and I will take on anyone in the judicial system any day of the week because I think I'm practically a doctor. I think I'm practically an attorney. However, I don't have time. This is my daughter's birthday and I'm cleaning my house. So I'm going to be careful. I just need you guys to follow me, right? So there was a rumor that allegedly Teresa's brother, the first rumor was about Dina's husband, that Dave had reached out to the brother and talked about her new husband, Louis, and all of this jazz. And then Dave comes out in the press, which is really not like Dina and Dave. We don't hear a lot from them. Dina does go on YouTube. She has a YouTube channel, but we don't hear them making comments to the press very often. But they cleared that up. They were like, they deaded that. They're like, no, Dave never called Joe. This isn't true. And then, like, I think maybe a week ago, did you guys hear that allegedly the real falling out was over Dave's private plane and the use of his private plane and him maybe feeling like uh, Louis might be taking advantage of the private plane? That's what we're hearing. Oh gosh, charge not available. I think I got dirt on my charger and it's like affecting it. So that was a little fishy. And so now the next rumor that we're hearing is that allegedly somebody else called the brother and started talking about how the son who works for Louis, there was issues with the job, with whatever was going on. And that basically was deaded at the reunion by Dolores because of course she said like there was nothing said. That's not true. And I believe her because I don't really think that again, I think that Frankie's career is, he's very career driven and I don't think that it's a good look for him, and I think he agrees to be like in the press and mixed up when there's like allegations so serious flying around, especially as it pertains to Louis and his like finances and his job. And so the 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 juicier part is that we kind of feel like maybe there was, I don't want to say that there was a campaign against the Gorgas or against like Frank or Margaret. I do think that there was a movement, if you will. Sorry, guys, I'm looking for my charger because there it is. I think there was a movement because I've said before, I've posted about the Gorgas. You guys can go back to like years ago, and people would get so pissed if I would talk about the fake Chanel's or the ex business partner. I mean, people would go crazy about it, right? And there's this really sweet woman on Twitter. I don't know if you guys heard this either. Oh no, it's still saying no. Oh crap. There was this really sweet woman on Twitter, and she is like team, she's a tree hugger, and she's received some really, really nasty DMs from an account. And basically, they told her she is battling cancer currently and she is going through chemo, and she's mentioned it on her Twitter. And the DMs from Team G Unit, if you will, were so mean and hateful. And basically, I mean, they were just like, just go unalive yourself, pretty much. It was insane. Like, no amount of human decency would a person have to like write these DMs to this lady on Twitter over a show, unless if you actually have some affiliation, because they were so mean. And it's not like the woman has battled cancer and she's cancer free, guys. She's still going through chemo, and she received these DMs, and it was 3 of them. back to back to back, like super mean, super rude, super just like your life is of no value basically. And it just kind of got my wheels turning again, because they didn't really care about mine either. They didn't care about my family, my life, my safety for several weeks. And it is hard to believe that there are people like that exist like this that really have no amount of human decency. And it makes me wonder if maybe the sister MG just gave her the control over to the fam, lets them make the executive decisions, lets them take care of everything. And then when there's an issue, maybe they bring it to her, maybe they don't. And if they do, they spin it in a way that it makes them look, come out smelling like roses. And obviously, because they are her family, she's going to obviously believe them over other people. So that causes an issue. And I think that we just don't want to see like Frankie Jr. get wrapped up in that whole issue is probably what Dolores and Frank are mostly worried about, I would say. I doubt that there was much of an issue. My source says there wasn't really like an issue and doesn't really know where this rumor is kind of taking flight. Now, the next rumor that you guys probably heard, maybe you heard, maybe you didn't hear. It depends on how long you've been watching New Jersey. This is a little bit of tea for you guys. Um, the House Husbands of New Jersey was a big deal. And it was like the first franchise, guys. We talked about this before. The contracts don't include, they include the husband as he has an obligation to film sometimes, but he's not getting paid. So New Jersey Husbands were absolutely the first Bravo men, housewife husbands, whatever you want to call them, to actually start getting paychecks, getting their own contracts. There were several reasons for it. Joe Gorga was a fan favorite a year ago, guys. They had a big following. I don't know if the people were real or not, or if they were like, bot accounts. I'm not sure, but it seemed like he was a fan favorite. People loved his shenanigans. They loved his drunken shenanigans. People in the New Jersey tri-state area, they were like, he reminds me of my brother, he reminds me of my cut. Like, they really enjoyed the commentary between the husbands, including Frank Sr., including Joe B. and Bill. Bill was they really like to see the guys hanging out and having a good time. And I could tell, I felt like the network was sort of testing the water to see how dedicated fans would really be, or how interested they would really be if hypothetically there was maybe their own sort of spin-off series, something that's just about the guys. Maybe they do a remodel. I mean, Joe B does plumbing, and Gorga does his construction, and Frank flips houses. Maybe somewhere along the line they were, maybe may or may not allegedly have had a deal worked out with a big network to do a show, and it got pulled due to all of the negative press. I'm gonna let you guys decide what you think the negative press was, but I had heard this rumor before, and I had heard that it was a go. However, yeah, it's a no-go anymore. And so I think that likely, allegedly, in my opinion, the animosity that we're seeing on screen towards Teresa's new husband might be from the guys because of the opportunity, or whatever they had created for this network for a show for them. Because let's think about it, guys. Even though the men are getting paid on Bravo, they're getting crumbs, okay? And they're getting crumbs next to their wife who's getting hundreds of thousands, okay? I almost feel like it hurts their ego a little bit. Like, I just can't. I'm sure that Joe like gets his paycheck and he's pissed off when Melissa's is like triple his, right? Or yes, be positive. The deal is, yes, the deal's done. I don't know for sure if Louis was included in the men's. I'm not privy to those details, but I did confirm with my source that it was a go with a big network. It was a big network. And it would have been a big paycheck. We have to remember, guys, Joe runs a business. He makes money off Bravo, but like he's still taking care of his family with his income, and he's the man, and he has to, bring in the manly income. And then you have Joe B. I mean, him and Margaret are struggling. Like, we don't have to be geniuses to say, hello, we're struggling. We got lawsuit after lawsuit after lawsuit. They're struggling. They're struggling. It's taking them all this time to do their house because they can't afford contractors. Teresa and Louis remodeled a house in freaking 6 months. And it's gorgeous. And it's taken Joe and Margaret like 3 years. So we know they're struggling. We know they don't have a huge income coming in. And then you got Frank. Frank's flipping houses, right? This is his forte. So I'm sure that the Bravo paycheck is nice at the end of the day. Who wouldn't want, to be a piece of that? And again, I think just and this really explains everything, because I couldn't understand how Joe B and Joe G were like this. Because I was like, man, we were hearing rumors about them at the strip club together. Like, they was hanging out. They was tight. If you guys remember when Louis came to the boys' night, did you see Joe B was on his ass? Like, Joe G was, saying whatever he was saying, but Joe B was co-signing for everything Joe Gorga was saying. And like, oh yeah, you're in an Italian family. That's so disrespectful that you didn't invite your sister, and yada, yada, yada. And so I couldn't figure out how their dynamic had shifted. Like, obviously they were always friends, but you could tell like the loyalty was different. And almost like Joe Gorga is like the cool guy, and like they all want to be part of the cool club. And Joe B's like, but that's, he's my best friend. You guys can hang out with him, but at the end of the day, Joe Gorga is my best friend, and he's coming home with me. So not today, Bill Aiden. Not today, Evan Goldschneider. Right? And the ego of it all. Like, again, I just think that it probably kills Joe Gorga. Like, he would love to be. Can you imagine if he had his own show? Oh my gosh, could you guys imagine? Like, he would be like king. He would be like the best thing, I mean, it would be almost like a competition probably with Melissa. Who knows? They'd be like, who has more viewers, or I don't know. I'm just saying that this explains a lot of the dynamic that we've seen between the men this season. Okay. I couldn't understand it. You guys, you had to see the way Joe B was like with Joe Gorga, just like the way he looked at him, like the loyalty and the friendship. And they both ganged up on Louis, and they're ganging up on Bill Aiden too. Okay, don't think for 1 second that they're not ganging up on Bill Aiden, because Bill has embraced Louis, and he's getting along with his wife. Everything, it seems very, I think, well in their household, and they're attacking him now because he's supporting Teresa and Louis, which why wouldn't he? And they do hang out a lot. And now they're getting mad at Bill. But here's the thing, Bill's a doctor. So he's like, you know what, guys? I got FU money. That's what David from Behind the Velvet Rope says. He says, they have FU money. I feel like Bill Aiden pretty much has FU money. Okay. He's a big plastic surgeon. I mean, think about Lenny in Miami, like how much money he's making. I know we're not in Miami, but trust me, Bill Aiden is pulling in a fortune doing what he does. Okay. He's a smart man. He went through freaking med school. Okay. Joe Gorga ain't shit to Bill Aiden. He, at the end of the day, he's like, I got FU money, and I put DMD after my, not DMD. I don't know what he puts. Is it DMD for plastic surgeons? I work for dentists, so I'm not really sure. But MD, maybe just MD, whatever it is. He puts MD after his name. He is a freaking doctor. So nothing Joe Gorga comes at him with is going to be shit. Okay? Thank you, MD. She says, I want a quiet season with a smiling Teresa. Bill and Jay could even perform in Married to Medicine. Oh, I love that idea. Bringing back Phaedra Parks. I'm going to be covering Married to Medicine. I have a love for Married to Medicine. I just don't do a great job of following it, that actual season. Bill is a king and Joe is a town jester. I think that could, be sort of kind of maybe sort of true in a way that how their personalities maybe are. People, they show clips of Bill and Jennifer drunk at the party. So what? These people don't go out 4 and 5 nights a week. If you don't go out 4 and 5 nights a week, and then you only go out once every 6 months, you're gonna drink a little harder. You're gonna have a little more fun because it's gonna be 6 more months until you get to do it again. So I think that it's kind of shitty of them, Bravo or whomever, people to not maybe consider the fact that, like, I feel like we see the other couples out and about a lot. They're out and about at parties or having drinks, or they're doing endorsements here, or they're doing it there. They're on the red carpet. We don't really see Jennifer and Bill doing all of that. They have 5 kids. We obviously see them doing charity events and things of that nature, but not like we see the other couples. And again, Jennifer doesn't have to be out there making extra money. She's at home. So I think that it's only fair to say, hey, the less you go out, the harder you probably go when you do go out. So we should try to maybe be a little bit more mindful of that, because we know that Joe and Melissa, likely they go, they always are. They drink their wine. We saw Melissa take her wine into the vehicle. It was funny. It was funny. She's like, I'm bringing my wine, and then we heard the comment about texting her ex. I don't know. I'm just repeating verbatim what was said on the show. So allegedly, I don't know what ex she's talking about. And the only other reason I feel like it struck me a little weird, because I feel like the longer that you're with someone, you don't even remember who your exes are half the time. Maybe that's just a woman thing. I don't bring up my exes ever, unless if it's like we're really fighting. And even then, like, I don't know. I just don't think to ever would ever think to reach out. I don't even think I would have their phone number. I'd have to go on like Facebook Messenger, and they probably don't even have that. That was definitely a strange thing to say, guys. Even if you're not team Teresa, you're not team Melissa, that was a strange thing to say. I'm going to text my ex. I don't know if she said I want to, or she said I want to text my ex. Should I text my ex? Something along those lines, right? It was strange. Just like Teresa fans, tree huggers can say, okay, maybe Louis, it's a little strange. Louis was like, I'm wearing no-nos pajamas. We can say, okay, we could see how you could interpret that as being strange. Let's all admit together, class, at one time, that it's a little strange to be referring to your ex if you've been married for 10 plus years. How far back do you go in the ex pool before you become salty and pathetic? I know, that's what I'm saying. Like, and again, like, you have them in your phone? Do you have their number? Like, was the comment that far out in left field that you don't have their phone number in your phone, or you don't? I don't know. Like, I don't know. It just doesn't make any sense to me. I would maybe be like, oh, I want to text the cute police officer that gave me his number for work or something. Like, I should text him. I think he was flirting with me. That I would be something more like I maybe hypothetically would say. I just don't. It just seems strange to me to be like, oh, maybe I should text my ex. Like, after 18 years? That's how long you've been married. So really, I don't know how long they've been married. I don't have my Chromebook in front of me to look it up, but they've been married over a decade. So it is a little strange to be like, okay, I have my exes programmed in my phone, and if I'm drunk out and I want to, I can text them because I have their number in my phone already. Like, I would have to do work just to get their phone number. I wouldn't just have it in my phone. Like I said, if I had ran into someone and it was like work affiliated and got a personal phone number and felt like they were flirting, that might sound a little bit more. Oh, she said, I'm going to drunk dial my ex. That's what she said. Thank you, Mama. I'm going to drunk dial my ex. Yeah, how do you have your exes? I would be like, I got to make 10 phone calls to get a phone number to call my ex. And I'm just too drunk to do that right now. So I'm going to call somebody I already have in my phone, like the Home Depot guy. I don't know. Like, am I the only person that thinks that is completely, if you maybe, I mean, if she has her ex in her phone because of work or personal reasons or whatever it is, then that would be make a little bit more sense. Oh, Catherine. Um, I've been saying this up here for a long time. Just read that, guys. I have been saying that for a long time. One of the reasons being that there are things, and I've said it before, that I don't speak on as it pertains to. Sorry, my hat's crooked. I'm like, "Look," as it pertains to any Bravo celebrity, anyone. If there isn't like solid proof, I'm surely not going to bring it up if it's something that could be detrimental to them. And there and it's a pretty much unknown, unspoken of, rumors that go around through New Jersey about certain cast members. And I've mentioned that before in my videos, but of course not going into a lot of detail because of the circumstances, right? Like, I just don't want to talk about it until somebody else comes out with like major proof, right? And I felt like they went so freaking hard at me when all of this stuff happened, like so quickly. Sorry, these damn cars. They like went so hard at me so quickly. They had my phone number posted too. Originally, they had my phone number and my picture and my address, but they took the phone number down allegedly like the first day everything happened. But I told like one person just between her and I, that I felt as if they were coming so hard at me, like they wanted to make me so mad that I would expose some of the things or talk about or bring up some of the things that we've all heard. And in that case, I think that she would leave him and play like it's him. And then it would give them a storyline. Even if you had a hood clean marriage, don't go on Housewives if you have kids. With SOC Med, they can watch parents drunk, rumors, or bad behavior. Absolutely. It's definitely got to be difficult when you have kids. I've said that about Jennifer, especially for when Margaret, called her disheveled drug addict. I've spoken about it in my videos before, that I think it does more damage than she understands or comprehends, because not only do other kids watch it, other kids' parents watch it, and they cannot affiliate with you sometimes because of those things. People have they stigmatize people. Look at how they stigmatized me. Okay. And it backfired because there's a whole genre of people who have mental health issues, or they have loved ones that have mental health issues or addiction issues. I've gotten message after message from people who have 20 years in sobriety, 15 years in sobriety, people, subscribers I had no idea were in a recovery community. And so they will humiliate you, just like they're trying to do with that poor woman on Twitter who is literally battling cancer and taking chemo treatments and receiving derogatory, hateful messages from a Bravo celebrities team, basically telling her to go unalive because her life is worth nothing. And what is people really fail to realize is that you can't say those things to people because you don't know what people are dealing with behind the scenes. You don't know. You should never ever say those things. And so I think it's just a very small glimpse into the way that they operate, and maybe what they've done through the past years to other people. um Zebra Warrior says, I look at what Ultimate Housewives did to Leah, taunting her and pressuring her to drink. Zebra Warrior, I just spoke about this in my podcast, or our podcast with Krista Marie, Reality Tea. It's called Housewives and Headlines. I said the same exact thing because we talked about how Heather told Leah, like, let's get Leah drunk. And she had read Leah's book, so she knew that Leah had a problem with alcohol and she knew that Leah was in recovery, right? And so all of us were like, ew, that is so gross of Heather. Like, what is wrong with you? But let's rewind back to Leah's first season on The Real Housewives of New York City. Producers knew she had been 9 years clean from alcohol. And when she came on the show, she was like, I haven't drank in 9 years. Like, I think I used to have a problem with alcohol. But since it's been 9 years and I'm on the show now and they're basically, serving us alcohol morning, noon, and night, I'm gonna see if I still have a problem with it. And I'm gonna do it on national television because all these producers are telling me that would be a great idea. I felt like Heather came in saying that because maybe, they all have their own producer. Like, I think two women share a producer. It felt like maybe Heather came in and said that because the producer was like, hey, it would be really funny, Heather, if you go in there and you're like, hey, let's get Leah drunk. And Heather was like, okay, cool. Yeah, you're right. I'm going to go in. I'm going to be the fun girl. Okay, yeah. And maybe that's what happened, but maybe not. I don't know. I don't really know how I feel about Heather, and I don't know how much integrity she has or what her moral compass is really like. So, but yeah, you have to be able to ignore it. Agree about Heather. Leah is an adult who tries to act. Yeah, Leah definitely has other things going on, but as far as it pertains to her and the alcohol and the 9 years of sobriety prior to the Housewives, thank God she got sober again. Because what if she didn't? Let's just hypothetically consider that Leah went on to Real Housewives in New York City. She had that first drink and she never quit drinking again. And we know that addiction and alcoholism is a progressive disease. So slowly it just gets worse and worse and worse and worse. So what would Leah's life look like now if she had stayed drinking on the Real Housewives of New York? She probably wouldn't have been asked to go to Real Housewives Ultimate Girls Trip. She would probably be unemployable by now at this point. And who would be responsible for it? Obviously, she took the drink. She continued to drink. That would be her guilt, shame, and remorse that she would be dealing with. But at the same time, guys, like, we do have to consider, we do have producers, we do have a show, and that's why I tell you guys, these housewives should not go in here blindly. Don't go in there without your own people. Look what's happening. Look what's happening to Rachel. I'm gonna go quickly over this because I don't have a lot of time and my phone's dying, but I want to touch base with this because I think people are gonna be a little bit upset because um of everything that we're going to see, like with the stepson and the adoption, and the mom is actually incarcerated, and people are, either leaning on the end of they shouldn't be putting this on TV, or are they monetizing off of their, the teenage son? And then the other half are like, Rachel's been an amazing mom and it was a whole life, and why, they should share this and be authentic. And I saw a producer do, I think it was like OK Weekly or US Weekly, and they said, like, how do you feel about Rachel and her husband and this whole adoption thing? Because you've got Bravo and has gotten a lot of backlash about it. And the producer said that it was in bad taste on producer's part and also on, her husband, well, on Rachel and her husband's part too. And so that, I think, is like a great example of, like, you got to have your own people there looking out for you, because producers aren't going to look out for you. They want what's going to make them money. Okay. You can't always be a yes person to them, because then they're going to have you doing all kinds of crazy shit that might land well with the audience and it might not. It's a gamble. So have your own publicist, have your own people around you, because if not, producers might lead you in the wrong direction. It's not necessarily, they don't necessarily want to see you win. They just want to see you bring in ratings. Barbara says Leah cannot drink, and main reason is she's bipolar. She mentioned that in her first season. Thank you, Barbara. She does have mental. Yes, she does. I think she did say that. And I liked Leah on Real Housewives Ultimate Girls Trip, and I was like glad that her and Candace could, like, relate, because it's so funny because the two are completely opposite yet have so much in common. And I loved that relationship between the two of them. And I got to see Candace kind of be a little bit more nurturing. Like she was the mentor to Leah versus somebody mentoring Candace, which is typically what we see. So 65 people in the room, guys. Make sure you're hitting that like button. Make sure you're subscribed to my channel. Turn your notifications on. I told you guys before, I'm bringing my tea to you guys on YouTube first before I take it out to the other platforms. So make sure you go through, watch this whole video. I did confirm allegedly some tea that's been circulating about the Housewives husbands and about that they may or may not have had their own show on it. It was not Bravo Network, but it was a big 3-letter network show. And because of everything with the bad press, and I'm going to leave that there and let you guys decide what you think that is. I don't think it was one solid incident. I think it was more than just the Gansevoort hotel incident. I'm hoping that we hear about this at the reunion, but I think again, guys, this is where we're seeing the animosity between the husbands because the deal got pulled. And I don't know if Bravo will cover that. I don't know if they'll talk about that at the reunion. I don't know if we'll actually, this is your confirmation, allegedly. So this is your confirmation. Leave a few more comments, guys. Hit that like button. Brenda, Bravo bears a big part of the responsibility. I agree here. For letting the feud get so ugly, the stuff they have allowed the talent to say has gotten really dark and vile. Brenda Kay also says, for example, just look at Jackie. She's not even full-time housewife, and they have her saying awful things about Trey and her kids on the show and on the after show. It's not funny, dark humor, but angry humor that gets people riled up and not in a good way. Yeah, it's like not even shade. I'm going to agree with you, Brenda Kay. That's where which is so funny because that was my mom's name. It's so funny because I think you're right. Like that's why Atlanta has stayed on top for years and years. I mean, they're not on top now, but they're gonna get there. Is because they have fun, lighthearted shade and they know the difference, right? They throw a lot of fun shade at each other in their confessionals, but we know how dark Marlo and Kenya got last year. So I think that the ladies need to figure out a funnier way to say things about each other in their confessionals because there's no comic relief except for Jen Fester. Jen, is that her name? Jennifer Fessler and her like sex stories. I mean, that's it. It's a Jackie is. Did you guys notice we didn't get Louis in any confessionals? Did we? He didn't join Teresa in any confessionals. Did he? Is that weird? Now that I'm like looking back, maybe he's not a separate entity like the other guys are. We didn't see interviews from Joe B either, though, did we? I don't think he had any confessionals. I'm like running through my head. Did Frank have confessionals this year? I think he did. So she says we need to relax, honey. Was the show canceled around the time that Bravo issued the gag order for RHONJ? It was 410 and never happened in the history of the show. The post had gotten totally out of hand. I think it was before that. I'm going to be honest. Yes, they did put a gag order on the Real Housewives of New Jersey, which had never happened before in New Jersey, but they had previously, according to David from Behind the Velvet Rope, and some of the other ladies, there was a gag order put on the Miami ladies when everything happened with Lisa Hochstein and her husband. They had to put a gag order on the ladies because they obviously didn't want it getting out before the season. I need some rest because they keep jumping at each other's throats. I felt like Teresa's very emotional. Teresa is very emotional for getting married. And I'm trying to pinpoint exactly what it is, but I think she's just overwhelmed with, processing that her parents aren't going to be there and processing the fact that, like, she probably, I don't know. I don't want to say, like, Juicy and her had an amazing relationship, but I doubt they would be divorced. And so I don't know. There's so much history there, and I, I just feel bad for her. She's crying a lot. Like, you can tell she's just emotional, and I'm sorry, guys. In my opinion, I think she's being very endearing with Melissa. I think she's being endearing. I think she's being authentic. And I think we've seen her be more warm with Melissa in the last episode or two than we have in a long time. And I think it would have been nice to see Melissa accept some of it. Like, Teresa really hugged her. Like, she really hugged her. And I've talked about this with you guys before about how, like, when your parents die or your family die, and you may have exes or old friends that you don't see or talk to, but like you're so comfortable with because they knew you and they knew your family and they knew your parents, and it's like someone that you can um talk about these things with and laugh about them. And you could see Teresa was trying to do that with Melissa as well, guys. Like I said, it means something when your parents are gone and you have people around you that knew them and you can laugh and talk and enjoy memories with them. And that's really what Teresa was trying to do when she was sitting there, and she was like, my parents, my dad would always say funny stuff like that whenever Dolores's boyfriend's mom came to visit them in the morning. You heard Teresa say when the mother called Dolores a hussy that my father used to say stuff like that. Melissa, remember my dad, my parents would always say something like that. And then Melissa was like, oh, yeah, yeah, yeah. And hey, Deb, you're a little late, so you better start from the beginning because there's some good tea. Linda says, I think Teresa was realizing it was over and she tried everything before she walked away. I wish that she would have said, when Jennifer said, are you asking them to be in your wedding? Because Teresa was like, I want, Joey to walk, Adriana down the aisle, and I want you guys to all be there as a whole. And Jennifer says, well, are you asking them to be in your wedding? And I don't know why Teresa said no. I think she meant to say yes. That would have been a good time for Jennifer just to speak for her and be like, oh my gosh, Melissa, she wants you guys to be in the wedding. Teresa, when are we going to get fitted? We got to call and get you a size. What size? And just take over and start ordering their shit. I mean, I don't know. Like, that would have been a good time for Jennifer just to like stand up and talk for Teresa, because it felt like Teresa's heart was saying, yes, I want you to be a part of my big day. I want you to be a part of our family. I want you to be a part of my wedding. But like her mouth and all the shit that is in her head said no. That was my perspective. And I cried when she said, don't say anything about prison in her story, because that made me feel bad, because guys, it is hard for mothers in prison that leave their children. It is not easy. And then she used to come online and listen to people call her a felon and a yada, yada, yada. And she literally had to tell them, like, please don't say anything about jail. Like, I just want to pretend like that never happened. So Linda said, I think she was saying she's asked and they keep saying no, maybe. Wouldn't Louis' sons, her next stepsons, walk Teresa down the aisle? This was a ploy with Joe, a last try. Possibly. Yeah, I mean, Joe was asked to be in the wedding, guys. Remember in the beginning? Joe was asked to be in the wedding, I think, like last year when they got engaged. But Teresa had previously started watching all the old episodes, and she had gotten pissed off when she saw all the shit that Melissa had been talking in the confessionals. And so she was like, you know what? I don't feel like putting you in my wedding right now. And maybe she was just trying to make her sweat. Maybe she didn't want her like riding off the coattails of the wedding for the next 6 months. I don't know. I think she was saying she's asked and they keep saying no. Very, very well. All right, guys. Well, like I said, I want to come give you the tea, and I did. I've been busy all morning making some calls, answering. So if I haven't answered your guys' DMs on Instagram, I'm sorry. I'm getting there. I'm just shrugs, right? Shrugs. But I want to give you guys this exclusive tea. So make sure you hit the like button. There's like 70 of you guys in here. I would appreciate it. Hit the like button, subscribe, turn your notifications on. This is why you gotta have notifications on, guys, because I bring all of my tea to YouTube first. So you'll find it on the rest of the outlets shortly. All right, guys, make sure you tell everyone where you heard it from, who confirmed it. Lindsay, the housewife historian. Don't go giving all of my good tea to all these other bloggers and not telling them where you found it. Just teasing. Bye, guys. Have a great day.